On this episode of Plants Where the Sun Don't Shine, variegated Solomon seal. Here we go. Hey, welcome to Plants Where the Sun Don't Shine, a podcast for people looking for plant ideas that work well in shadier spots of the garden without relying on the much overused hosta. Do I hate hostas? No, not really, but I do like lots of other shade-loving plants and want to share some of them with you so you don't have to just rely on hostas when you're gardening in shadier locations. I'm Dr. Dennis. These are some of my favorites that you can plant where the sun don't shine. Okay, welcome or welcome back to Plants Where the Sun Don't Shine. This is episode 7, and this episode is about variegated Solomon seal. The Latin name is Polygonatum odoratum variegatum. This is a Eurasian native related to the North American native Polygonatums, but different in that it is variegated and it is quite a unique plant in the architectural contribution it makes to a shade garden. I like it because of the variegation. It just adds a little bit of a pop, having these leaves that have the edging mostly around the tips in a variegated color. So it's instead of being a solid green leaf, it has these edges that are sort of cream colored, which pick up on the creamish colored flowers. The set of or a pair of flowers that hang below the stalk, similar to a bleeding heart in that there are multiple of these hanging pendulous flowers that are sort of a cream color. Sometimes there is like a hint of green at the edge or at the tip of the flower itself, but mainly you just sort of notice that cream, which picks up on the variegation in the leaf, which is why I quite like this plant. Um, some folks might say that it grows about 24 inches or 2 feet tall. In my experience, it's a smaller grower or grows smaller, probably around 16 to 18 inches, though I have had it in fairly shady conditions, sorry, fairly dry shady conditions, and it actually prefers sort of evenly moist soil. This is a plant that's hardy to zones 4 through 8. That's the USDA hardiness zones. So in Canada, it's probably more like 5, sort of hardy down to a 5. But with climate change and depending on where you plant it, for example, if it's up against the foundation of a house where it's getting a little bit of warmth off of the building, or if it gets a good cover of snow or lots of mulch in the fall and winter, or is protected from, like the elements in a big way, you could probably push it to Canadian hardiness zone 4. In my zone, 6A does really well. I'm very fortunate in that regard. Um, so it is related to the native North American Polygonatum. The native North American Polygonatum actually can be eaten, but this version, the variegated Solomon seal, should not be eaten. It would make you unwell. It's not necessarily toxic, I guess, but it's not edible. But the native versions, the Polygonatum biflorum, for example, which grows much taller, about 3 feet, with a wider zonal range of hardiness zones 3 through 9, I believe. Those ones are edible. You can eat the stalks. You cannot eat the berries that Polygonatum biflorum produces. Those are toxic. Birds can eat them, but toxic to humans. But the stalks and even the rhizomes have been eaten by people because it's related to asparagus, actually. The focus of this episode, though, is the variegated solvent seal. So you should not eat variegated solvent seal. I want to repeat that one. It is not the native North American type of polygonatum. It is an Eurasian native. So the reason I love it, and you may pick up on this if you have been listening to the podcasts previous, is that it has the variegation which goes really well if you're planting it with other variegated plants. So, for example, last week we talked about variegated astrantia, masterwort. And if you put the variegated form of masterwort together with Polygonatum odoratum variegatum, you would get this really, really nice repetition of the variegation, which would like play off of one another in a shady spot in the garden. So it will help to sort of brighten up those darker spots. That's why I like variegated Solomon seal. I mean, I really do like other forms of Polygonatum as well, but the variegated form just gives that little pop of brightness on the edge of the leaves. Those flowers that just sort of repeat the same sort of cream color, and that can be combined with some other really great plants like astrantia, variegated astrantia, that will help to create a flow in shady spots in the garden, a real repetition and a cohesion in your garden design. I will, of course, as usual, post some photos in the Instagram account associated with this podcast. So that's Plants It Where the Sun Don't Shine on Instagram. Okay, and one last thing as we wrap up this episode, the reason for the name. So apparently, as the rhizome underground grows, it leaves scarring, and that scarring resembles King Solomon's seal. So apparently, there's a circle and maybe a faint shape of a hexagram on it. I have never seen that, but you'll be sure to know that the next time I'm digging up Solomon's seal, I will be looking for it. Thanks for listening. Thanks also goes to Sherry Donegan, Jonathan Scott, and of course, Ian Jefferson for brainstorming podcast name ideas with me. Credit goes to Sherry on that one. If you have thoughts or ideas you'd like to share, please email me at plantitwherethesundon'tshine@gmail.com. That's one word without the apostrophe. You can also follow the show on Instagram at plantitwherethesundon'tshine with Dr. Dennis. Hosting is provided by Spotify for podcasters. Until next time, thanks for listening. Go plant it where the sun don't shine.